Well, they certainly wouldn't be fallen in Adam's sin, but maybe it was a different Adam over there, right? Do you share the gospel with them? Do you baptize them? Do you give them communion?
Well, I would apply the same thing. Why do we even need a gospel? It's because of the fall. What does the fall relate to? It relates to the, to quote S. Joshua Swamidass, the genealogical. Like if you're out of that loop, then talk of a fall and the need of redemption doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I see no reason why just because a being is intelligent means that they are A, fallen, and B, in need of redemption. They could be a completely different category.
Well, they certainly wouldn't be fallen in Adam's sin, but maybe it was a different Adam over there, right?
But why would we need that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's just a possibility because they could have been... So they could have been like these perfect beings that we meet that are morally perfect, but in this case, like Klingons are not morally perfect, right? So,
right, and there's really no, I can't think of any basis why there would need to be any sort of fall, and then thereafter redemption on some other world. I mean, that is where the discussion commonly goes.
So what the Catholics say, I think, is that they don't really know, but if they asked to be baptized, they would baptize them. If they asked to take communion, they would let them. That's what they say.
Right, and again, that's the logical thing for a Roman Catholic to do because they're linking the act of baptism with, the taking care of original sin.
Well, I think what's good about it is it kind of supposes that, okay, well, we'll have to tell them the story of how God has interacted with our people. And we'll observe how God works in them and how they respond. And we're not going to...
My view is that maybe I shouldn't say my view, but the one I like the most, that I think makes the most sense, but I have no idea if it's right. I don't think that Colossians chapter 1, when it talks about the reconciliation of all things, I don't think that is language that specifically aims for a redemptive act in terms of salvation, in other words, absolving a moral guilt problem. I think rather, and I'm with most commentators here, so this isn't new to me, I think rather what's going on in Colossians when the reconciliation of all things extends to the cosmos is that essentially it's hitting the reset button. It has nothing to do with those who didn't avail themselves of the plan of salvation or redemption. And what that means in practical terms is if you're an animal or some other organism or some other rational being living on some other world that isn't part of the drama that's being played out on Earth in terms of sin and redemption, you're probably going to be in the next world too. In other words, it's reset to an original state, an original set of conditions, set of relationships to God, whatever that relationship of the Klingon to God was, well then it's there and it's sort of solidified in its optimal perfection, at the reset button. So there's really no issue of Klingons, needing, or might end up in hell or heaven or annihilation or whatever, whatever it is. The individual eschatology question really isn't germane. So you wouldn't like wonder like what happens in Chronicles of Narnia, that there's Aslan there by another name, but it's still him. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't like be wondering, did God incarnate with them? I mean, maybe not, but maybe he did. We don't know. It feels like you're conflating Paralandra with the Chronicles of Narnia on that point. So I don't know that Lewis is doing that in the Chronicles of Narnia to make the Paralandra point.
Oh no, it's different. That's a different universe versus a different planet within our universe. So it is different. So I'm not conflating it, but I'm just wondering. I mean, I would want to know more. I would be curious about that. I would be attentive to it. Just not knowing what to expect.
Right. I mean, I think maybe a better way to ask the question to me, to put me more on the spot, would be, okay, if we had intelligent aliens and they heard about the story of Jesus on Earth and they would say, well, I want to believe in Jesus too. I want to follow Jesus too. Am I going to say no? And the answer is no. I wouldn't say that because theologically, I'd have to ask, okay, is that prompted? And by the way, I'd be almost inhuman if I actually sat down and thought about this way, okay? And I'm just unpacking it. Does my theology, make me look at the alien asking this question as, well, that's just intellectual curiosity as opposed to they're being drawn by the Spirit? Because if it's the latter, then you got to give them the gospel, because you don't know what God is up to.
Well, that's my point. I think that there is I think if we ever encountered intelligent aliens, I think it wouldn't be the same. Maybe it'd be even more dramatic, or maybe it'd be less dramatic. I don't know, but it would be the same sort of theological reckoning that we'd be working through to understand how to engage this new people that happened when the Gentiles were brought into the early church, of just figuring out, like, how does God's grace work with these people, and not knowing and having to sort that out.